What's going on, fellas? It's been a minute since we've last talked. I've just been busy, man. Look, YouTube is it's boring. I've been making TikTok short form content my entire life, bro. I'd be spending 30 minutes, maybe max, on a video, man. YouTube, man, takes me a couple hours to create, bro. And it's not that I want to do more or that I'm not doing enough. I'm just, feeling things out. I'm taking a little break. I'm coming back into it, though. We're gonna just keep the momentum up. Please like and subscribe. Please, I'm actually on my knees. Today we're going to talk about how to establish a daily and weekly bias every single, we'd say Sunday night or Monday. Going into the week, what should you do to kind of predict future price action? Because that's kind of the goal, right? And looking at the 4 hour right now, man, look at how choppy it was. We actually caught a really good trade today, right at 9:45. You guys know I don't usually trade before 10 o'clock. I love to wait for that 4 and 1 hour candle close. But today there was no news today. That kind of invalidates most of my potential setups for post 10 o'clock. What I was doing right here, obviously, I had a bullish sentiment, and I'm going to show you exactly why. And going into it, we had some Trump tariff news come out, so that actually made markets open up lower than they did on Friday. Instantly bought back up. So that's a really good sign for buys continuing. We're understanding that buys are underneath us. And as you can see, market is developing. We keep making higher lows continuously, which is another really good sign for longs. And this has nothing to do with today, just my entry. You guys know I like to trade on the 8 EMA. This was the 15-minute time frame. I'm really starting to stay on the 15-hour, 4-hour, trying to stay away from the shorter time frame stuff just because it is a lot more riskier. This is a lot more slow paced, chill vibe. Now, this is where I've kind of adapted as a, boss. Market's obviously making higher lows. Look, continuously higher low, higher low. We're seeing buys constantly underneath us, which is a good sign. If we're in longs, we want to make sure buyers are underneath us. Price retraces to this EMA, finally consolidates, breaks back above, continuation. Retracement back to this EMA, super bullish candle close right here. And I would have got in right here if it was a little bit later into the day. This was a really good candle close for buys, understanding why we are retracing into this EMA and we see buyers holding this up continuously. But since it was so early into the day, we decided to actually just wait. I wanted to wait a candle close because it gave me the opportunity, and luckily we did, because look at how close this came, and this might have potentially stopped me out. We jumped in at the 15-minute candle close after we see this rejection off of this EMA. Once we created this candle, we are waiting to see buys come into here, so we wanted to see price drop into here. That's exactly what happened. Price held, pushed even up above the high, closed above the high. That was extremely important for me. If this did not close above the high, I would have not gotten into the trade. We had a perfect setup here, rejecting off the previous 930 low we made, which is a really good area to look at, the 930 low. We had a perfect trade off of the 930 low. Buys come up, reject off of it, push even higher above the close, giving us a really bullish entry for longs. This is a very, just off the size of this thing, guys, you guys can tell, bro, this is obviously super bullish. Jumped in for longs right here, just ran a 1-to-1. That's all we look for. This was 54 points, I believe I exited for. I was using 5 micros. Any trade over 50 points, I have position size myself, and you guys can see, got very close to stopping us out right here. But understand, once again, we trade this way for a reason. If you look into this area, you see price came exactly where we expected it to go. Again, we're expecting to see buys in this area. Why? Because we did right here, we did right here. Why wouldn't it happen a third time? So understand, when you take a trade, you want to make sure the side you are going to play, you're going to be getting held up in this area. If you are in buys, your stop loss should always be in an area where you expect to see buys. Just like I was saying, if price gets underneath this area, it's a very bad sign for buys. This is our last leg right now since market open. Getting underneath this would invalidate my trade. Therefore, my stop loss goes right there. At that point, I run to 1-to-1, and you guys can see, look at this thing just pop up, man. And we actually chopped really bad all day. But again, we were done in about 20. I think this was a 20-minute trade for me. Made about 6 bands today. Let's just break down how and why we got into longs initially, and also why we even decided to play that side. When determining a weekly bias, of course, step 1, look at the weekly time frame. I went back 1 week just so we can't see the current candle. But looking on the weekly time frame, guys, is this bullish or bearish? This is, again, a clear example of potential buys. Once again, just kind of exactly how we looked on the 15-minute time frame. We see price is very bullish. You look on the weekly time frame, it's not the cleanest ever, but we are seeing a continuation up. Look at this, watching this EMA, retracing this EMA. What are we seeing on the EMA, guys? Buys, buys, buys. We actually got underneath it. Guess what happened next week? Bought up off of it. Had a low we made on the weekly time frame right here. This is our current low that we created. Price continued up off of this low, retraced to this EMA, tapped the low, bought all the way up and closed back above the EMA, which is an extremely bullish ideology. At that point, the continuous, this was last week, ended up dropping all the way down back into this area, making a higher low, again closing above the EMA, but this time it is an extremely bullish candle. This gives me a clear example of an opportunity to get back to these highs. Now this is pretty far-fetched. This is going to be extremely hard to get over because this is all-time highs, and you guys can see all the top wicks that we've had inside of this area. But we have Powell speaking tomorrow. We have Powell speaking on Wednesday as well. I'm not trading until Thursday, so I'm kind of sitting back, and anything could happen here. And that's kind of one thing is people will misconstruct sometimes is this is not going to have any impact on Powell's expectations. Just because this looks bullish doesn't mean when Powell drops some news or something and this pumps to all-time highs, it does not mean that it was because of this. But all we can do as retail traders is just live on the dream and play off of the technicals. News is always going to change. We don't have any insider information that could potentially change our, bias. But looking at this, I hope you guys understand why this last weekly candle is extremely bullish. I'll put the watermark up just so you can see. So now we're actually looking at the daily time frame on NQ. Now that we have the weekly time frame established as clearly bullish, it is now our time to look at the daily time frame and see if things again line up. Just kind of push yourself away from the computer. Where's the trend? It is definitely bullish. It's choppy, but it's bullish. Now that the trend is established on the very big time frame of the daily as bullish, now let's look at the current last couple candles and determine if this current area was bullish. We can kind of get an idea of what's going to happen because the weekly time frame again is just a bigger version of this. But looking at the last couple days, what can we take away as a potential opportunity for a continuation on this trend? So we're having these very high increases in selling coming in very big spurts. That can be clearly indicated. We're at all-time highs. A lot of institutions or, big sellers can definitely be loading off of their positions. But we're also seeing, look at this, pretty continuously buying up every single time we see sells. That is a very good thing for us to see looking at the bigger time frames, giving us an opportunity to take longs because we notice every time we're seeing sells, the big sell, big buy, big sell, big buy, big sell, big buy, showing currently prices here, buyers are definitely underneath us, and that can show just by these candles alone. But look at all these bottom wicks. If I were to just give you this zone off of from this candle to this candle wick, you guys can see clearly a lot of bottom wicks inside of this range. This is not something I would trade off of, but just expect in that area to see buys continue, again, until proven guilty. Until this is not an area where price is being held, I personally have to play that side. Now this gets tricky because when you do go on these shorter time frames, your bias can completely change because yes, long term, yes, daily time frame, things could look bullish. That doesn't mean you can't take shorts, but the kind of institutional side of your brain and statistics side of your brain saying over this period of time, longs are definitely in favor. Depending on the time frame you trade, you have to kind of look at it relatively. If I'm trading the hour and the 4 hour, I should be looking at the daily and the weekly. But if I'm trading the 5 minute, I should be looking at the hourly and the 15. I'm kind of starting at the very, very top and just scaling down for every single opportunity. Personally, will trade the 5 minute, I'll trade the 1 minute, I'll trade the hourly, I'll trade the daily. I don't care. If I can get a setup across any of them that looks good, I'll always give myself a chance at it. But looking at the price right now, so we obviously have clear bullish trend. We are seeing big selling days. We're also seeing matching green days continuously afterwards. What I notice is, again, that we have an extremely bullish area underneath us. We're expecting a lot of buys, and you can see, I don't know if I really count this, but we did tap into this area here, and it's, I don't believe that's a coincidence. I believe that once we tap this low, this is an area we expect to see buys. Look what happened. We bought up extremely quick off of it. Engulf the previous daily candle, which we rejected this high off of. We'd have to take out this high for me to be really bullish, and then this high continuing out. But right now, with the daily time frame and the candle that we just printed out, this is engulfing the previous red candle. This looks good for an opportunity for buys to continue up. If you are trading off of probability, you have a higher probability, just statistically, to take a trade at the open of the next day on this side for a potential increase in price before we see this loss that get hit. If you're playing off of probability, the opportunity you have right here definitely leans to the buy side. You are seeing an extremely bullish candle buy up off of a demand zone and close above the previous high. Probability of this going up right now is higher than it is to go down. Meaning if you were to take a trade to the buy side right now and you ran a 1-to-1, it's more likely that this will hit TP than it hits stop loss. Doesn't mean it's impossible. Doesn't mean it's going to happen all the time. But you're playing off of probability in current trend. Trend is bullish on the daily. Trend is bullish on the weekly. We just bought up off of that very important demand zone that we saw. We engulfed the previous daily candle. Exactly what I'm saying right now. You have an opportunity here based off of probability to be profitable. Now that we have the daily and the weekly charted out and they're both definitely pointing to the buy side, let's go on the 4 hour and see if we can establish, again, a continuation of that belief. So what I'll always like to do is on any time frame, really, especially the bigger ones, the daily, weekly, hourly, 4 hour, I will always look, just kind of zoom out extremely far and just notice if I can find any areas where you really need to see, some potential zone marking. Just off this low, we are making higher low, higher low, higher low. This shows us that buyers are stepping up. Buyers believe that this can continue up. Imagine this. We have this low being made. We understand that it is extremely important now because this is our considered last line of defense till we go, again, breaking the trend of making higher lows. You see higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low, higher low. If we break this, it would actually give us, a break of structure. And, you got fucking ICT losers would eat that up. Look at how strong these buys are. We have obviously really important buys here, really important buys here. What you want to see and verify as really strong pivot points are, does price pivot at these areas extremely quick? Yes, right here. This wouldn't be considered a pivot point for me just because it was too quick after the previous, but this is obviously a sign of strong buying. We had buying off of this wick previously. This is a pivot point. Look at how quickly price hits this area, boom, pivots up. I've been talking about retracements all day. Look at this nice retracement to this EMA. If that potentially shows for a buy aside, you guys know I've been talking about retracements all day. I want to see pushes up, especially to the buy side, because we're looking at every single time frame and they're pointing buys right now. Every single time frame is pointing buys. When we are trading off of buys, even in shorts, sometimes when you're looking at the trend, you always want to trade the trend's retracements. You do not want to enter buys here, here, here. You want to enter here. You want to enter at these pivot points, these areas where we believe price is going to continue up. That is an opportunity potentially forming right here. You guys see how this actually is rejecting off of this EMA. If this does close with a very nice bottom wick, or let's say price even pushes back up above this high, that would be a really strong opportunity playing the probability game to make money. But looking at the 4 hour, this is Sunday right here. Candle closes are extremely important. I do not trade off of anything but candle closes. It is extremely important because you are getting confirmation of something. Yes, right now this looks good for buys, but until it closes bullish for buys, this could eventually, like if I got in right now for longs because it looks good, boom, this could completely sell off in the next 2 hours and I would just get shafted because I didn't wait for confirmation. If this candle closes bullish with a nice bottom wick, we would have an entry for longs. But right now, trend is bullish. There's just no entries, which happens sometimes. Now we're on the hourly and you guys can see we're just stuck in between this range. This is our current really, really, really important low, and this is our current all-time high. So you guys can see prices just chopping in between this area. Does look like that it is trending upwards though. Looking at longs quickly going forward, let's stop right here, looking at the session that we're currently trading, and let's actually set up our zones of this range inside of the range. My suggestion is you don't have to wait till it breaks a side of the range, but if you're taking longs here, which you probably shouldn't right now, there's no entry for longs right here. Looking at the trend, it is extremely bullish. You guys can see this is the current low we made. Super bullish candle. We're seeing buyers continue to push this up even after this ginormous pushback. Sells come in, and this is overnight right now, so this is not, the biggest volume ever, but we're seeing sells, but they're not really showing too much volume. You see, look right here, boom, big volume on buys, big volume on buys, big volume on buys, big volume on buys, giant volume on buys. But knowing that we're in a range right now, you should not be trading expecting to have a breakout of this range. If there's anything you should be doing, if you do take longs right here, consider taking a trade and making sure you get out of this position before price gets above this high, because more than likely you have to play a realistic role with this. If NQ is in a range, if anything is in a range, you should not be trying to catch the breakout. You should be trying to catch the chop. In my eyes right now, until this is getting above, all I'm expecting to see is chop in between this range. Doesn't mean that I have to wait all the way to come down here to catch buys because I expected to buy up. But if I do take longs anywhere that I get an entry, you want to target this area to sell it. If I was taking shorts, I would jump in around here. Stop loss would be around here because if we break above this range, it has potential to climb up. But if we stay underneath this range, it still has a potential to chop in between, just like we were saying. It is more realistic for this to chop in between than break out. I would consider this still bullish right now. And if we look at the weekly and it's bullish, and the daily and it was bullish, and the 4 hour and it was bullish, and the hourly it was bullish, what side do you think you should play going into tomorrow? You let me know. But Powell speaks, so we're not going to trade. And if you're watching this, please do not trade during these days. It's why, man. Just take a day off, bro. It's not that hard. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching this video. I hope you guys are doing well. I know it's been a while since I posted, but please just keep yourself updated with me, man, and I hope you are doing well. Please leave any comments on any stuff you need, subscribe, do the whole fun stuff, man. I love you guys so much. I'll see you boys probably in a week.